Hey everybody, it's Dave. It's Friday, November 27th. This is the weekly currency report. So, no huge changes over the past week in the currencies. You continue to see the power shares dollar bull making or at the top of a cyclic range. So from a short-term perspective, it's a little overdone. However, given the fact that we've had a bit of a breakdown below the short-term D2 line, this potentially could signal the fact that we're about to have a decent move up. I don't expect the type of move that we saw in 2014 in the dollar, but I think that the Fed is really keen to raise interest rates. I think that with the rest of the world showing weaker than trend growth, that the United States is certainly the strongest place to be, and to be reflected by a strong dollar. So, couple other reasons why I think that we have some potential upside in the unit over the next 3 to 6 months is that you can see that we've had a bit of a crossover here at the longer term timing model. And usually, if we can sort of cross at this particular area, we should see a bit of upside. In the very short term, I am expecting the index to drop back. I was thinking that we might see somewhere around 25.50 on the power shares. Not a huge amount in terms of a decline, but still on 26, it's worth to get it. And I think potentially to the upside, you're looking somewhere around 27 to 27.50 or higher. The question will be, how much up and down are we going to see in the index, this particular price as we get there. And I actually think that at this point it looks like guys have sort of bought in. And this period here is not much different than sort of what we saw back in this area here. You've got whenever you get the breakdown below the major trend line in here, it's usually a sign that you're about to have something. If the position is short, you're about to have more upside. Now, the the other reason why I think this is something that's going to be pretty positive is that you can clearly see here that the short-term peak level here on our timing indicator is pretty high. And although this suggests that we're probably due for a bit of a rollover, that rollover might not come for several weeks at this point. I do think that at this particular juncture you can get the index at this level or better, so I wouldn't be chasing the trade at this point. But clearly you can see that the last time that we've seen any of this, that we saw some upside was back in this area in here where didn't necessarily carry through too much, but the risk wasn't huge. So there was about another 2 to 3 months where this was potentially to the upside. The difference being that back here, whenever we've seen the short trade break down to the upside, which is usually pretty significant, it's usually this situation right in here where we see this thing come off. So again, I'm thinking that we're probably heading higher on this. I think that we're probably looking at something in this particular area that we can come back to 25.50, and I actually think that this is a trade that will probably end up working on the long side, and it could possibly be a trade that lasts 6 to 9 months. The just kind of looking at a few of the other areas inside, um, the group in general is short term, sort of oversold. Obviously, they're going to be the inverse of what we see on the this particular chart. The UUP has a short term overbought, so it's got a 0 rating on timeliness, where everything else is within the 9 to 10 range. On that, the strongest in terms of a trend ranking is the British pound. It's got a 3.8, but again, that's not really a particularly good reason. That is at the very low end of trading, which means that it's something you can kind of get into and you can do some trading with. The the only interesting thing that's popped up over the past week that I point out, and this is today, was that the Australian currency, we've had a short-term crossover in our short-term model right in this area right here, and that's usually kind of interesting because been seeing the strength occurring in the Australian dollar. Release some comments that usually when you see a bit of trend strength along these particular lines, where you've moved up across the 51 level, it's usually a sign that you're about to see something from a Quantechnix perspective. So basically, longer term trend rating, still an out and out sell. So these are sort of the points where people might want to use. If you own this, it's painful, but you got to probably take some money off the table. But at this point here, we've also had a crossover of our blue line. So my guess is that sometime over the next, sort of week to 2 weeks, we're probably going to see the Australian dollar turn into an opportunity for, turning a system trade on, which basically means that you'll buy here at 72. We might see 73, 74, 75. A short back down to 72. So it's an opportunity to make probably, somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 to $4 per trade over the course of several trade cycles. So I'm thinking that we're probably looking at a four point move from a trading perspective, and it's just started right now. So just to recap the currencies for this week, continue to be short term overbought. A lot of the data is now pointing to bigger trend happening and possibly breaking out on the U.S. dollar. So, but short term, I think that you're going to see a lot of these guys kind of bounce a bit and pick up some steam as the market kind of digests a little bit of the upside in the currency over the past month and change, and everybody gets ready for the Fed in December.